Demons!
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group. As we kick off another bye-week edition of the Demon Huddle, joined now by Northwestern State head coach Blaine McCorkle. And Coach, we sat here a week ago and we talked about the influx of freshmen you've had for the last couple of weeks. Whatever past influx is what you got this week. And we were sitting here talking before we cut the cameras on. Good things happen when you put those young guys in.
It does. We were, we're at that 4-game mark, so we're going to let those guys play as we've talked about. It's no secret what we're trying to do. We're trying to build this thing for the long term and not quick fix it. As frustrating that is in the moment, that's what we're trying to do. And, we made a decision that the second drive of the game this week, we were going to send 6 true freshmen in the game, and then they ended up playing about half the game. We went every other series after that, and the first thing they did was put together our most impressive drive of the season. It didn't come away with points, but they went 14 plays and 66 yards. I think they overcame 3 third downs on the drive, and that was as impressive as a drive as we had, and there were 6 true freshmen in there. Now we get down there, we gave up the sack when we got inside the 10, and then we missed a field goal, which was so rare, so uncommon for Reed to miss a right down the middle 30-yard field goal. But what those guys did to put us in position was really impressive, and then throughout the course of the game, they got better as they went. Where they struggled was they need a few more birthdays. They're just weak. They're not strong right now. But we had some guys up front taking great footwork, playing with great technique, executing, being right where they're supposed to be, and then you just get outmatched. And really that happened on both sides of the ball in a lot of places. And that's where, a big point of emphasis moving forward after the season. We've got a lot of football to play yet, so we're not talking about next year yet, but we've got to be a stronger football team. And Coach Jason Smelser, our strength coach, does a tremendous job in there. But he's got a team that is full of brand new players who've never had a college offseason and a group of older players who took a 3-month vacation. And you can't do that. That is a recipe for disaster when you're playing at the level of football we play. But those are things that are fixable with the freshmen getting older. And now this year the returners will have the benefit of a true full offseason to get bigger and stronger, because right now people are just bigger and stronger than us. I think our kids are playing really hard. They're fighting. They're executing at a little higher level. You talked about the offense a second ago. Excuse me. We had half the number of missed assignments this week that we've had in the last couple of weeks. And we put all of our true freshmen in there, and our missed assignments go down. Well, why is that? Well, when we signed this recruiting class, we were really proud of the fact that recruiting class as a whole had a 3.3 GPA. Smarter players are better players, and we're going to bring in smarter kids, and we're going to develop them. We're going to get bigger and stronger, and that's how we're going to build it. And the proof was kind of in the pudding Saturday, even though it was yet another tough day.
You talked about it. Smarter players are tougher players. Tougher players probably tend to become stronger players, which seems to be, you kind of touched on it there, kind of the maturation process you want for those guys and the groups you bring in after that.
Well, all those young players, I have no doubt that I just mentioned have not been in an off-season program yet. They will get bigger and they will get stronger because they're smart, because they're mature, because they're going to do the things that they need to do to eat right, to sleep right, to take care of their body. They're not going to create these excuses about, well, I don't have food or I don't have this. They're going to find a way to get it done. They're going to make sure that they go to bed. They're going to make sure that they don't miss workouts. Smarter guys are mature guys, which means they're tougher guys, and that's why they're going to be successful, because they're not going to create excuses. We talked all year about making an excuse to win. Guys like that are guys that will make an excuse to win and not have an excuse of why they can't do things.
You looked around, and we talked about the youth, and it didn't look like, you talked about Hayden Jenkins coming off the Nichols game, and after the first drive, he didn't look like a freshman anymore.
That's right.
I don't know that you really, maybe just going through there, I don't know that we saw a whole lot of freshman moments that you see typically of young players in that game against Lamar.
Yeah, you didn't. You mentioned Hayden Jenkins, and all you have to do too is this week against Lamar, watch him cover the kickoffs. And Coach Williamson, Jay Will, our special teams coordinator, used the term he was a bully on the kickoff team the other day, and he was, and that was really encouraging to see. Again, true freshman who hasn't had a chance to, and he's a strong kid. He's well put together, but have the benefits of some age and some experience with those things. But no, there weren't a lot of freshman moments. It was a pretty clean game, as we mentioned. We did have more penalties offensively than we've had all year. Part of that is a little bit victim of circumstance with quarterback change. We had a couple procedures and a couple guys got lined up wrong because when you go to a new quarterback, the cadence is different. What you hear in the huddle is a little bit different, and those are things that you've really got to focus on and get right and recognize who's up there. Once Q got hurt and Kareem went in, I think we had 3 procedure penalties after that, and that's not Kareem's fault. That's just hearing a different voice with a guy who hasn't played a lot of quarterback. But those are part of the maturation process too. When you get in those situations, you got to really focus in and know who's in the game and work well with them.
Well, let's talk about Kareem Cotton. You mentioned him and you talked about him Saturday night. And this is a guy that, baseball has utility players. Basketball is trying to go to positionless basketball. This guy, for his career, has basically been a positionless athlete in that he was a quarterback. He's a wide receiver. He's a quarterback. He's a wide receiver. And Saturday, he had to be a little bit of both.
Yeah, he was a football player. I couldn't say enough about Kareem Cotton and what he did this week, but what he's done really ever since we've been here. When I first got here in late November, December, I had a meeting with all the players, and I remember specifically my meeting with Kareem where he told me he had made some decisions to make some real life changes. And since then, it's been neat to see that kind of maturation process and how he goes about his business. And he's been dependable. He's been there. It hasn't been perfect. He's had a couple bumps in the road, but he's really grown up a lot as a man in our time together. And I think we all saw that on display when his number was called Saturday. He came in and he didn't back down. He wasn't shy. The moment wasn't too big for him. And he just let loose and played hard. And he played physical as a quarterback. He had a couple stiff arms and running through some tackles and finding a way to create some drives and some momentum. So really, really proud of what he brought to the table Saturday.
We talked last week, kind of going in a couple weeks about Ty Moore. Kind of special weekend for his family. And he had, it's going to go down as a 27, 28-yard catch, whatever, but about 20 yards after contact on one of those plays. And it kind of, I think, maybe embodied what this team is about right now. It's long odds, but you're still fighting through. You're still looking for someone to make a play. And those guys, I think, are starting to move off of the afraid to make a mistake, ready to make a play time.
Yeah, I think Ty had maybe 2 catches for 48 yards, something like that. So he had a pretty good average on the day. But the one he made late in the game where he was kind of refusing to be tackled was indicative of who Ty Moore is. Ty Moore, he's a tough kid. And, our receiver room as a whole is doing some really, really good things without the ball in their hand. And if you watch that play, there's other receivers sprinting to get in a position to help him out and get a block. John Barr, I think, was in on that play. And Amaz might have been there. I'm not sure. I can try to remember the play exactly. But that may have been my favorite play of the game because I think that one play for Ty Moore, twisting, turning, breaking tackles, fighting for yards when the game's essentially over, is a little bit of the identity of who we've been all year. These kids, they're not getting what they want on the scoreboard, and that's not acceptable. But they're throwing punches. They're trying to get better, and they're seeing the big picture. So I was real proud of Ty, and that was a great day for him and his family with Mom going in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know what his dad's problem is. He's got to pick it up a little bit, I guess. Like that guy can't put a career together. But no, we all know that his dad's had an unbelievable softball career, was a great player himself here. But Ty and his mom definitely had a good day, and I'm sure that Glenn was awful proud of both of them just as a husband and a father that day, and just a special day for their whole family.
Pretty sure at some point the Baylor Hall of Fame will probably come calling for Glenn Moore.
I'd say there's a good chance,
when his career is done with what he's done with that softball program.
As they should.
We talked after the game, something you said that maybe lay people like us that aren't in the weeds in watching film. You talked about your running backs and how they'd been kind of in the same boat with the offensive line. Everybody looks at the offensive line and wants to lay it all on them, but the running backs weren't necessarily holding up to the standard they needed to. Now that you've seen some of the film, did you see the steps forward without the ball in their hands?
Yeah, absolutely. Zay Davis made a couple of good plays with the ball in his hand. He ran the ball really, really hard. Maybe if Ty Moore's play was my favorite play offensively, my second one was the second decent run there that Zay had where he came to a dead stop. He hurdled somebody, he spun out of it, and he just was fighting to get extra yards. And I think he's one of the running backs in that room that wanted to prove me wrong, and I'm all for it. And I love Zay Davis. I think he's I think his head and his heart are in the right place. I think he's all about the team. And I thought he played really hard. I thought several of those guys showed up in their blocking and protections way better than they did a week ago. I think Ray stepped up in there and tried to put his hat on some people. I think Colby got a couple plays in there where he was blocking and trying to work hard. And it was neat to see. And then Jeremiah James got his first real action. And no, he wasn't perfect in his protections and his blocking. He was, for the most part, in the right spot, got to get his body in the right position, but he was fighting to do the right thing. And I was proud of that group. Accepting the challenge and trying to play with a little bit more toughness this week.
Jeremiah May, they didn't throw the ball too much at Manny, so there probably wasn't a whole lot of blitz pickup over there when he was a Tiger.
But he did catch a nice pass this week too on the wheel route, and if Kareem had gotten to him, I think he would walk in the end zone. But he got his first career catch too, so good for him.
Tried an explosive play in that too.
That's right.
Special teams, we've kind of touched on defense. Special teams, Reed Honstein, you talked about the missed field goal. Characteristic for him is somehow forcing fumbles on punts. It's 3 this year that have been recovered by your team inside the 15-yard line of an opponent off his foot. And we talked to him last week. He goes, try to mix it up. Is it fluky? Is it just one of those statistical anomalies, or does he just have a knack for that?
I think it's probably one of those statistical anomalies. If he's putting any kind of English on the ball, good for him. But I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case, but it sounds good for him. But we'll take it. Every time we get a turnover and get the ball in good field position, we'll take it. The disappointing thing about that is we didn't capitalize. You get the ball, 1st and 10 down low in the red zone, you've got to capitalize. In the very first play, we throw an interception. And we had a guy wide open in the flat that we've got to be able to hit. And Q made a mistake on that play. He played really good. I was proud of what Q did throughout the course of the game, but that was a crucial mistake that we made that could have swung a lot of momentum. If we hit the field goal earlier, we don't turn the ball over there. At worst, we go in halftime 21-17, maybe 21-21 if we don't have the sack down there before that. And we have no room for margin, so those plays are really magnified for us right now. But good for Reed for giving us a chance to get down there and score again. But at the same time, shame on our offense for not capitalizing. That's one thing that we've got to correct and get better.
Injuries, we've talked about it. It's kind of been a theme for since about South Alabama. It seemed like you were healthy going in. Now, finally, it's week 10, and you finally get a bye week.
That's right, yeah.
From a health perspective, you probably wanted it a few weeks earlier, but you've probably had bye weeks throughout your career, early in the season, mid-season, late season. Do you have a preference as to when they come?
Well, I think this year, this one's probably coming at a good time for us because we do have the mounting injuries. I think there's pros and cons to both. I had one a couple years ago that was the second week of the season. That was awful because then you go 9 straight after that. So I think it kind of, they fit different every year, and until you get into your season, you really don't know when you need it. I think this year it's a good time for us. And after the game, I told the guys, I asked them in the locker room, I said, hey, do you guys know what next week is? And they said a bye week. I said, no, it's preseason. And we're going back to preseason this week because we've got a 3-game season left. And we're going to try to have a winning season in the second season here, And this 3-game stretch is tough. You got Southeastern, McNeese, and Houston Christian, a couple traditional rivals in there. And Houston Christians find themselves, they made some ground last year and they want to capitalize on that. So we've got 3 really big games ahead. And, we'll rest some guys this week, try to get some injuries back. But we're going to go to work this week and try to finish this thing right and find a couple wins in there.
So Saturdays for a football coach like you, and you've talked about it, you're 48 years old, you've spent 48 years in college football.
Yep.
I know you got a little emotional talking about that Saturday night, but for Saturday, what does Saturday look like for you this week?
This week our program will be off. So this week with the bye week, shooting this here today on Monday. I think you release this on Wednesday, whatever. But we'll practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Tuesday and Thursday the guys will have off to do some school work, recover a little bit, get some extra film work in. And then the majority of our coaching staff will actually go on the road recruiting. So everybody will be in for today's Monday practice. Then tonight, as soon as practice is over, about half our staff will leave. Myself, the coordinators, and all the graduate assistants will stay, and we'll run the Wednesday and Friday practice so we can get good work, get some young guys some good work from there. But it's really important that we use this week to go on the road. Then next Saturday, we'll give everybody off. So everybody will be off next Saturday to sit at home, fire up the grill, watch a little college football, feel like a normal human for a little bit. But what you find yourself doing is, everybody will be able to turn on the SEC games. I'll be turning on the Southland games because I want to see what those guys are doing those next 3 weeks, and I'm sure I'll be flipping channels with those. And then Sunday we'll get to work on Southeastern full time.
Well, Coach, we always appreciate you, even during a bye week, coming in here, taking some time and talking with everybody. And we'll be back with defensive coordinator Matt Connor when the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group, rolls on here on YouTube.
Super One Foods is proud to be named the official grocery store of the Northwestern State University Demons. No matter where you gather to watch the game, we've got everything you need at Super One Foods, all at super low prices. Plus, you can order online and enjoy same-day pickup with our convenient curbside service. Talk about a game changer. Score big when you shop at Super One Foods, your official NSU Demons grocery store.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group. Joined now, as we are most weeks, by Northwestern State Defensive Coordinator Matt Connor. And Coach, we just talked to Coach McCorkle about it. It's been a youth movement, and nothing's going to stop the last 4 games of the year, last 3 now. But your group, you kind of folded in youth all throughout the year, so really it's not too terribly different. Doesn't seem like.
No, it's not. Sometimes, unfortunately, and I'm really, really proud of some of the young guys that we've been put on the field. Naturally, those come with some learning experiences and some mistakes that don't tend to happen with older players. But they're working hard. They're trying to step up and do what they're coached to do. And really, really proud of them. And I know we mentioned a couple weeks ago on this show that it's tough right now, but you got to look at how much experience they're gaining. That in a normal situation they wouldn't be gaining that. And so if you really see big picture and look down the road, we're able to turn over a roster of potential sophomores and juniors that have played a lot of football for us.
Well, you looked at it, and I think maybe throughout the week or throughout the game at least, in the role I had Saturday, I was watching every play, doing stats and everything like that. But I think I saw Caden Mackey really maybe make that leap in terms of just seeing where all those previous reps kind of start to come together.
Yeah, Caden, really, really proud of him. Again, a true freshman walk-on previously, but really, really proud of him. Caden, he loves to practice. He loves the team. And he wants to do everything he can to put the team in a position to be successful. And that shows in his play. Where Caden has to grow, and he knows this. I don't mind saying this on is his pre-snap awareness. As a free safety, in essence, he has to be me on the field. He has to be the quarterback of the defense, and that's a lot to ask. That's a tall task for a true freshman to come in and kind of run the show. And he knows he has to grow in that area, and he works every day to do it.
Seeing fewer and fewer missed assignments, as Coach McCorkle talked about. So again, it is showing that. Yeah. Maybe not on the scoreboard, and as he said, for you guys, I know that's not an acceptable thing to say, hey, we're on the short end again, but you are week by week, drive by drive, probably even seeing some of these guys and saying, okay, we're getting there.
Yeah, you can definitely see some growth. You're right. For anybody watching, it's never, ever acceptable for us to give up points and yards and obviously come out on the short side of a game, but you do see some of those young guys. Caden Mackey, Hayden Jenkins had another really good week where he got in there and really battled, and starting to see him grow. And then you've got to obviously continue to turn yourself to the redshirt freshman, and Antonio Hall and Troy. Those guys out there battling, and like I said, it's a learning experience every time the ball rolls over. So it's unique.
Same thing, I would think that the coach says, you're just looking for birthdays at this point. You gotta get a little older, a little bit more gray hair like I've got.
Right. Birthdays and a couple of healing hands on a few guys to kind of get them back out there, and hopefully that happens pretty soon.
And you guys, at least with this week, it's a bye week, and it's probably one that you probably didn't come too soon for you guys, especially the ones that have been nicked and dinged, because you played 2 FBS teams, you played 9 games in a row. And with the injuries mounting again, I don't know if there could have been a better time for this week to come, but you kind of get to slice it into now, as Coach said, maybe a 3-game mini season afterward.
Oh, absolutely. Coach said it after the game. We're going into preseason right now, and that's how we're going to approach the next 2 weeks. It's preseason football over again, and when it's over with, we got a 3-game season, and we're going to throw everything we got into. And then the players, I have no doubt they'll jump on board with that mindset. But it provides us an opportunity to, get some guys that haven't been out there back, hopefully, and get them back in the mix, get them back in the kind of game shape a little bit. You naturally can run them a little bit more on a bye week, not having to worry about having a game at the end. And then, the big thing for us will be some of those guys that have really racked up some play counts. Especially down around the box, down around the ball. It takes a toll if you've got a four technique that's played 500 snaps a game. That can really take a toll, and it'll provide us an opportunity for at least a couple of days to kind of let them get their legs back under them, let them heal up, let them get to feeling fresh again, and then, like I said, we're going to throw everything we have at this 3-week season.
We've talked so much about the young guys because it's kind of hit that point, but How have the veterans, I mean, this team seems, even in the midst of a struggling season in terms of record, you don't see the infighting. You don't see anyone turning on each other. And I think that's a credit to what the veterans have also bought into with this culture.
Yeah, I think we've removed that, and that's an area where we talk all the time about the results haven't showed up on the scoreboard. But if you don't think we're making progress, come hang out in our facility for a week and see the day-to-day, and see that our guys love playing with each other. And for the most part, the guys on our roster right now, it means something to them to play for NSU. And while we haven't gotten the results we're looking for on the scoreboard yet, we had to start somewhere, and I can't be more happy with where we are and what Coach McCorkle's come in here and done, and getting this culture flipped over, because that's a direct result of that is, we're able to come out on the short. Unfortunately, we come out on the short end, but there's no toxic behavior. There's no negativity on the sideline. The guys just go out and do everything they can to keep fighting and try to execute what they're being coached to do.
So kind of like we ask everybody when we get to bye week, however long this has gone on, what does Matt Connor do with, and we kind of touched on it, you had 2 Thursday games, so we may be going back, but bye week, I know you're going to probably be hitting the road some with recruiting and later in the week, and it's kind of interesting to do that late in the season. You'll see some guys that maybe talented, but in the same respect, the team may be struggling. You can learn a lot from them. They're still playing hard into their season. But come Saturday, what does that look like for you?
I'll probably sleep in Saturday because we'll get up and we'll have an early morning practice on Friday. And then we'll hit the road. We'll go watch teams play Friday night. And so we'll probably get back late Friday. And depending on my 7-year-old and 4-year-old, as far as how long they'll let me sleep, I might get to 7 a.m. if I can. But other than that, we'll get up and, it'll be a normal day as usual. Towards the afternoon, obviously we'll turn on some football, and it might look different for us. I know Coach McCorkle probably mentioned it earlier, but we'll turn on ESPN Plus and scroll through the Southland games and kind of keep an eye on what people are doing. And but a lot of sitting in football.
Nothing wrong with that. Maybe the grill, get the grill going.
Maybe
if the weather's good.
Maybe so.
Like it's
if I want to put out that much effort. If not, we'll just call something in.
DoorDash or whatever it is. All right, well, that's Northwestern State defensive coordinator Matt Connor. When we get back, offensive coordinator Norman Joseph joins us on the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University, New Media, Journalism, and Communication Arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/newmedia.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group, joined now by Northwestern State offensive coordinator Norman Joseph. And Coach, happy bye week, first of all. We'll go ahead and talk about the Lamar game last week. And Coach touched on it, the influx of youth, which has been going for a couple of weeks now, some by necessity, some by design. This week, by design, that second drive of the game with 6 to 8 freshmen out there, redshirt or true, 14-play drive, that's got to warm an offensive coordinator's heart.
Well, it gives us an opportunity to play a lot of young people, but also it gives us an opportunity to expand our offense. And you got a quarterback that's mobile. You got offensive linemen that want to play, have a great desire, and to showcase their skill and their talent, and not only just an offensive line, but some of the tight ends and running backs as well. So it was a lot of fun calling plays and watching those guys execute and drive us down the field.
We talked to Coach McCorkle about Kareem Cotton, and that's a guy who in 4 years has technically played 4 different positions, although it's 2 each year. Handling both quarterback and wide receiver, and I know Coach said post-game it's been 1 week of practice at quarterback for him, and he came in and didn't look out of position at all.
I thought he did extremely well. You go back to spring ball, and he played quarterback for a couple of weeks during the spring before we moved him to receiver, and he was wide open about that. He just said, as long as he can get to play and get on the field, he wanted to contribute any way he can. And so I thought that his play was outstanding. on Saturday. Came in off the bench in a really adverse situation and marched us down the field, made plays. Quintarius got hurt on one of the drives and had to come out of play, and he jumped right in there and rushed for 15 or 16 yards. So truly took advantage of the opportunity and made the most of it.
Tell you what, he wasn't scared of contact. Most quarterbacks, you're looking to slide or something, but maybe that's playing a receiver. Maybe he's gotten tougher, but he was giving out some hits.
He was, and love to see that. Kareem's is a good-sized youngster and very physical. We love seeing that physical nature out of our quarterbacks, but out of all of our positions as well. And he played to his utmost, and we're very proud of what he did.
Through 9 games, I'm going to see if I've got these names right. I'm going to try to list them off here. J.T. Fayard, Chance Newman, Abram Johnston, Quintarius Hawkins, Kareem Cotton, Kennard King, Ty Moore. What do those 7 players have in common?
They've all taken a snap at the quarterback position, yeah.
Have you ever had a year by design or anything else where you've had 7 guys take a snap?
Never. But at the same time, everybody brought a different skill to the table. All of them had something to add, and with that, very proud of those guys. We asked them whether it was 1 play, 2 plays, or 100 and something plays. They all came in and gave their very best, giving their very best, and we're very, very proud of what they're doing.
Can I make a request?
Absolutely.
Can we get a Johnny Mitchell at quarterback sighting?
Don't count it out.
I wouldn't want to tush-push him anywhere or try to tush-push him anywhere. But all joking aside, the young guys really did come in, I think, and that 14-play drive we talked about didn't come away with points, but at some point, the third down light seemed to click on that drive, whether it was Q or whether it was Amaz Eugene, whoever it was, but 3 big third down conversions on that drive alone, kind of a jumping off point.
Very, very true. All of that was something that we have not done, and a consistent drive to early in the game, and it wasn't our first drive, but it was early in the game to drive down, put ourselves in a position to score points. We didn't come away with any, but we were there, and along the way, those guys made plays, they made catches, made runs, put us in a position to get into the score zone, red zone, and come away with points. And so very close.
Talked about it at 14 plays, you ate a lot of clock, got your defense a chance to rest. I think maybe the other really impressive drive came at the end of the first half, going a minute 5 and 8-9 plays, whatever it was, to score the touchdown, which Zay Davis could have run probably from here to Campty. Through that hole. That was a good job by your offensive line to open that thing up like the Red Sea. But, Miles Denton, a couple of really big plays on that drive.
Yes, and Miles has played well for us all season. And Quintarius took us down, drove the ball down the field. I think on that drive as well as when he got knocked out for a play and Kareem came in and made a very nice run during that drive, as we talked about earlier. But it was 6 plays. And we went 80 yards, and the guys performed at a very high rate, and real proud of putting some points on the board right before the half.
I think it's NFL Network that does the Angry Runs segment. I think someone on there does. You'd had a hard time picking the angriest run, I think. We just talked about Kareem Cotton. He broke a couple of tackles in his. Ty Moore breaking out of that scrum there in the middle, and then not on the touchdown run, but Zay Davis had a play where he hurdled someone, spun off somebody. Looked like a kid playing a video game, just hitting all the buttons and seeing what would work. But a little bit more physical nature it looked like from the guys this week.
And you're exactly right. I'm glad you noticed that. That has been I guess a talking point, an emphasis throughout last week was for us to be more physical and to play with that kind of passion and that kind of spirit put that kind of spirit into the play. And I was really excited and to see our guys do that. We haven't done it, and it was a challenge for them to play more physically all week long.
Looked like they answered it.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
And that, again,
Yes.
that goes back to culture. When you get what you ask for as a coaching staff, you can't be anything but pleased.
Exactly.
For you guys, different. We kind of talked about this. We had a couple of Thursday games early in the year, so I've asked you this question. It's been about 6 or 8 weeks, but a Saturday where you're not coaching, what does that look like for Norman Joseph?
It'll be a late breakfast. I'll probably be cooking it, and it's a relaxing day. Still thinking about the upcoming opponent and looking at some things there before maybe some afternoon ball games, and propping my feet up and watching those. So we don't get very often do we get to watch an afternoon ball game, but it will be taken, and it will be a leisurely day for sure.
We can call Sam Goodwin and hang out and talk a little ball with him.
Absolutely.
He's had a great impact, I know, on you, and it's been great to have him back in the
Yes.
fold with Coach McCorkle. And it's always good to have you in the fold, Offense Coordinator Norman Joseph. As we wrap up another edition of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube, we'll see you next week.